Now we've come to another very important aspect of bodybuilding, professional or amateur, and that's the nutritional supplement line. Generally speaking, I don't take supplements in the off season because I'm eating such a wide variety of foods. I get a lot of different sources of minerals and vitamins from all of those foods. But when I get ready for a show, which usually begins about 16 to 12 weeks out before a contest, I start training twice a day, 2 hours at a time. I'm doing an hour of cardio. I'm tanning in the sun. I'm doing photo shoots. A lot of energy is being expended, and I have a very narrow food source to get my vitamins and nutrients. That's where I start implementing the supplements. And generally, I don't go out looking for specifics in supplements. I try to take a very wide variety of supplements to complement the kinds of foods I'm already eating. So why don't I start off with the things that I take, and my favorites getting ready for the Mr. Olympia. I usually have a tendency to take lecithin, and I'm not really going on brand names here. Lecithin is lecithin. It helps metabolize the fat and get the fatty acids in your system and out of your system as you get ready for a contest. That's the most important thing, is you want to burn fat. Lecithin helps. Another good combination is inositol and choline, and I generally take all of my vitamins with my breakfast in the morning, and then I take another portion of vitamins in the evening after my second workout. Inositol and choline, along with my B-complex and B6 and my B12s, those are all fat-burning components of supplements, and I take them all in conjunction with each other to help try to burn off the body fat. I take a lot of vitamin C, again, my inositol and choline. I take zinc, calcium, magnesium, my multi-mineral, and my multivitamins. I don't necessarily consider myself a scientist when it comes down to taking supplements. I do know that calcium, magnesiums of the mineral line, that you lose in sweat. When you train 2 and 4 hours a day, you lose a lot of sweat, you lose a lot of vitamins and minerals. I take a good quality multivitamin as well as a multivitamin pack. Sometimes as a professional bodybuilder, you take more than you necessarily need. And what your body can't use, you will lose it in the toilet and your body will excrete it. Generally, after I train, I take a nice amino acid drink to try to get the carbohydrates and amino acids back into my system because I'm depleted. And the G4 seems to help a lot. I take a little bit of carnitine as well. I take 2 forms of carnitine, the capsule form, 250 milligrams, and the line by American Bodybuilding Products. And again, there's no real specific differences in terms of companies and brands. I happen to get my vitamins free, so that's my carnitine trip. I take my vitamin D and I take my chromium picolinate. Vitamin D is very common in milk and dairy products, which I cannot have when I'm training for a contest. Therefore, I supplement it with a vitamin. A lot of times in the off season, especially when I'm training really heavy, before I start my diet, I take a little bit of creatine monohydrate to kick some mass here, and the Metaform. I usually take that after I train to get an extra energy boost. And here's another form of amino acids, essential amino acids. I generally take these immediately after I finish my workout in the morning and in the evening, since I do train twice a day. I don't put a whole lot of credence in spending money or buying products if I didn't think they work. These are insurance policies. I eat my food first. If I have $20 in my pockets, the number one thing I'm going to do is try to find the primary sources of quality protein and quality carbohydrates. I go to the grocery store. I'd much rather grab a T-bone steak, a dozen of eggs, a bag of potatoes, and some rice for 20 bucks than to go out and buy a protein powder in place of that. The protein powders and the supplements are all insurance policies, so that if you're eating 6 times a day and you're still trying to get in some calories and you don't have the time to eat it or cook it, that's where a protein powder might come in to boost your protein intake, or a high caloric drink in order to boost the intake of calories that you're trying to take in. Spend your money wisely. Use it as an investment, as an insurance policy when you are training to the extreme and you need fast recovery and recuperation. That's where these products are going to help you. And in the off season, eat and eat well. Eat varieties of foods, fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, and you'll be much better off as an athlete, and you'll recover a lot quicker. Okay, what I'm trying to do here is trying to find music for the Mr. Olympia. And I guess the most important aspect of anyone's posing routine is the music. The music is the statement, and I just happen to be the performer in the show, but I think most often than not, a lot of times, a lot of bodybuilders get on stage and they pose to background noise. I'm one of those bodybuilders that when I started bodybuilding, I was taught by a friend of mine that your music makes a statement. And with every song I choose, I choreograph my routine around that song. So I have a tendency to pose to slow, much more dramatic music, put more emphasis on my training, or on my transitions, and actually hitting the pose more so than I do the brutality of bodybuilding and, you know, just background noise and hitting most muscular shots. I like to think as bodybuilding as a stage, and this is my art, and I'm putting it on display, and I want you to enjoy it more than anything else, rather than cringe and squirm in your seat as something that's gross or, you know, a little bit too brutal. I want it to look more as a work of art. Labrada posed along the lines that I do. Bob Paris, and of course John Brown and Vince Taylor. To me, that's much more artistic bodybuilding and presentation and posing. So my music tends to be a little bit slower, a little bit more romantic, and every song that I pose to has meaning. And so as I select my artists, you'll notice that most of these people, from Brian McKnight to Mariah Carey and Luther Vandross and John B. and Prince and Janet, they all sing a variety of slow songs. And again, I have a nice big selection in front of me and in back of me to choose and find something that will make a statement. And in New York, I plan on trying to make a statement. And I think the hardest part's not the diet, the hardest part's not the training, the tanning or the photo shoots, but actually when it gets to the nitty-gritty, the hardest part is my signature. And that signature comes in the form of a song, and trying to find something that represents my personality and my charisma. So I'm trying to bang my head against the wall and find the right song, and I wish and hope that most bodybuilders put a little bit more emphasis and time in taking time to find something that's suitable, that represents their physique, so that we can all enjoy their physiques and their presentations as well. There's a few bodybuilders out there that I remember due to their posing routines and due to their songs. And I guess my song, my signature, started off back in 1987 with a performance to the Dream Girls. And this is it right here. I'm Telling You I'm Not Going. It was a Broadway performance, and I brought it to stage. And I think now when anybody hears the song I'm Telling You I'm Not Going in a bodybuilding form, they think of Shawn Ray. As well with Vince Taylor, he has I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. So I like to put a stamp on it, and there's been very few bodybuilders that own a song. Phil Hill used Phantom of the Opera, and nobody can pose to Phantom of the Opera the way that Phil Hill did back in 1988 at the Mr. Olympia. And so there's memorable performances that are tied in to music. And so I'm trying to be selective and find something that not only I feel comfortable with, but that you'll enjoy. So we'll see what that'll be in about 4 more weeks. Another day in paradise. Another job. Let's go. But when I come into the gym, my mindset is such that every workout counts. Every day I'm getting a step closer to my ultimate goal, and even if I don't win the contest, I'm doing everything I can do within my physical limitations to be fully prepared. And I'm 3 weeks away from the Mr. Olympia. I was 219 pounds yesterday, and I feel strong, I feel confident, I'm refreshed. The one main objective is always there, and that is at the end of the day when I get to New York City and I step on stage, I have to ask myself as I look in the mirror, did I do everything physically and mentally possible to be prepared? Am I ready to go into combat against the likes of Nasser, Ken Wheeler, Kevin Levrone, and Ronnie Coleman? And every day, the good part about my attitude is that I'm very optimistic, and every day I reflect and say, yeah, I left it in the gym, I did my best, and let's get on with the next day. And so here we are. I'm gonna do a little chest workout today. I'm training by myself, which is customary about a month before a show because I train a little faster, a little lighter, and my workouts are a little more intense because of the speed. So enough talking, let's get down to business. For me, 3 weeks before a contest, 150 pounds is like 180 pounds, which is what I usually will handle in the off season for about 6 reps. So obviously the bigger you are, the more you should be able to handle. So sometimes I get a little confused when I see somebody the size of Dillette or the size of Fuchs or one of those guys, and they're over there messing around with 100-pound dumbbells and they weigh 300 pounds, and here I am at 215, 220 pounds, and I'm handling dumbbells around 180, 160, 150 range. And when you start putting it into relativity, that's what I say, pound for pound, I'll take the 300-pounder on any day, because most of the time as they diet down and start to lose strength, they start feeling sorry for themselves. You never get that out of me. Like I said before, I may not be the biggest, I may not be the strongest, but what I do works well for me. And you'll find no quitting here. So let's move on to some incline flies, okay? Usually when you're training for a contest of this magnitude, or otherwise, if it's a city, state, local, national, international, world championship, when you're this close to a contest, you've got one set of eyes that you can really trust, and that's those looking back at you in the mirror. So granted, if you have to make a certain weight class, the scale has to play an important role, but even more than that, you got to use the mirror as your guide. It's not my best friend, but I do use it as a measure of my progress. So when I look in the mirror, I know the mirror is not lying back at me, whereas I may have friends or fans that tell me I look great when I really don't. It's very hard to fool myself into believing that I look good when I don't, when I look into the mirror. So at this point in time, 3 weeks out from a show, I'm constantly trying to gauge my progress by what I see back in the mirror. Today I'm doing chest. So of course, I'm finished training my chest. I got to look in the mirror, assess my upper body, my arms, my triceps, my shoulders, my traps, my abdominals, all in relationship to my chest. Now, granted, there's a certain time of day that I pose my whole body, but right now, I've pumped a lot of blood into my chest, so I'm really swollen right now. Now's the time to squeeze it for that very last little detail and flex it all in concert with the other surrounding muscles, the delts, traps, triceps, and biceps, and abdominals. So I'm gonna be focusing on that in the mirror as I study and analyze my physique. I don't look in the mirror at admiration or satisfaction, because then you become content. And when you become content with your progress, there's somebody coming up behind you or somebody ahead of you that's working harder. They're not satisfied, and I'm never satisfied with what I see. And more often than not, 3 weeks before a show, I'm not gonna necessarily like what I see, but I realize I've only got 20 days, 19 days to improve on what I do see. And this is the stage when I wanna rip it up and cut it up. So as I look in the mirror, from my perspective, what I'm looking at isn't necessarily satisfaction in the detail or the pump or the size or the fullness, but what can I do to make it even that much more crisp, that much more tight? And that might come in the form of more repetitions on my next workout, maybe a little heavier weight, maybe a little lighter weight, maybe a little bit of a more cardio, maybe a cut back on my carbohydrates, but there's the manipulation. I and I alone can see how to change that over a period of 3 weeks. But right now, I want to see where I'm at. And chances are I'm not going to like what I see. But that's the mark of a champion, never being satisfied and always trying to be better. I told you guys earlier, I probably wouldn't like what I see when I look in the mirror 3 weeks out from a show. And that's probably more due to the fact that with 3 weeks, there's so much more I can do still. And it's satisfactory, but I need to be more ripped. And I need to hang on to the size as the weeks go along, grow closer to the show. So the object is for me from here on out is pose, pose, pose. I gotta pose every day. I've got pictures to take. Still some tanning to do. I've got to keep myself hydrated as much as possible. I've already probably drinking about a gallon of water today. My day started at 5:30 this morning. I was in the gym. I did 50 minutes of cardio, 25 minutes on the treadmill, 25 minutes on the bike. Went home and I ate my breakfast, took a shower, came here, and trained chest and filmed this video. From here I'll go and eat some chicken and rice, and I got a photo shoot at 12 o'clock with Flex Magazine for abdominals and calves. I'll eat again after that. I'll go to the suntan bed and tan for half an hour. I'll go home and take a shower and lay down, wake up and go back to the gym and finish doing biceps, triceps, and another 50 minutes of cardio. And my day will end right around 7 o'clock, just enough time to catch about an hour of the football game on Monday night. And I'll probably wind up waking up at about 10 o'clock and eating some egg whites before I call it a day. And that's pretty much a typical day from here on out. Only one thing will change between now and the show, and that is I'll cut back gradually on my cardio as my show gets closer. So right now I'm doing 50 minutes twice a day. Next week it'll probably be down to 30 minutes twice a day. And the last week I won't be doing anything. But every day I'll be posing. So with 3 weeks left to go, we'll see what happens when we get to New York City, baby. All right, peace out.